Hello and welcome to the very first episode. Oh my God, this is so exciting. This is going to be, as you've probably read in the description, this show, welcome to the Lair, first episode. This show, as you probably read it maybe already read in the description, is going to be all about various esoteric subjects, magic, yoga, Wicca, witchcraft, ghost stories. And I'm hoping to have a lot of different guests on, even people who are leaving comments. If you want to share it, we can do a show on some ghost stories and have a couple of you on there at the same time. We can share and tell ghost stories. And this show is basically, it's going to be a little bit more for the grown-ups when it comes to magic or Wicca and stuff like that. I try to avoid things that are not very efficacious in day-to-day living or don't go deep enough. So this show, I thought, what do I start off a new series with? I should start basically at the beginning, the number 0. So that's what I did. So the number 0 was going to play a pretty big role today. I only want to do like half-hour shows, so I'm going to try to be really quick on this because I know my other show, some of you might be familiar with my criminal profiling. It's a teaching show, and they're very long. They're an hour and a half. So I won't be going on in it for an hour and a half today. They are very difficult shows to do for an hour and a half. That's a full movie, but it's a teaching show, so that's totally different. And there's a link down there if you want to get into deeper astrological stuff and do criminal profiling at the same time and learn how to do that. Because I've been doing that for about 25 years. As far as the esoteric subjects, that goes back. Oh my God, I have to ask my sister Debbie, but that goes back to about the age of 12. We had some really incredible experiences. I don't know if I'll talk about them on the series or not, but yeah, we were forced into it through experiences. So I started kind of delving into it very lightly. Obviously, I'm like 12 years old. So, what do you know back then? I started looking up on ghosts. And of course, back in the 70s, what was the big topic? Parapsychology, stuff like that. You don't hear too much of that name anymore, eh? But anyway, so yeah, I have a long history. And then I got deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into more deeper esoteric subjects, which will come out as the show goes on. So I come from various angles and a wide array. So that's why shows like this, I just eat them right up. So I'm really happy to be doing a show like this and having guest stars. Next week I might have my friend Steve on here. He's a walking encyclopedia on rock and roll. And we're going to do the occult secrets. The occult meaning secret or hidden. Okay, nothing evil. Okay, many people misunderstand that word and use it wrongly. And when someone's into the occult, they're into things that are not normally known by people or secret or kept secret. Or you have to dig deep to get the answer because they're encrouched in symbolism or something like that. Okay? That's basically it. So the occult influence on rock is huge, and we're going to be talking about that in another show. But today, you can see I'm sitting here in Neverland. Some people call it Neverland, some people call it Neverland, but here I am. Some people think I live there because I am rather childish. So yeah, I've been studying. I'm 58 now, plus GST, and I started when I was 12, so that's a lot of years. That was like 45 years or something like that. I've been working with various esoteric subjects. So today we're going to start with 0. We're going to start at the beginning. And who better to start with than one of my favorite cartoons, man. Peter Pan. The Blu-ray. That's how much I love it. So yeah, Peter Pan. We're doing Peter Pan today. And you'll see the reason why. It's not just because I love Peter Pan. I love cartoons like this because often they're chock full of mythological meanings and deeper esoteric meanings that you can dig down and extract. And I love doing that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to do with Peter Pan. We're going to find out who Peter Pan is today. Okay? And you might discover a Peter Pan that you never knew existed. So, without further ado, first, I'm not going to talk too much about the Peter Pan as most people know. I'm sticking to the Walt Disney because most people know the Walt Disney version. He is not the same Peter Pan as the original Peter Pan. Very different person. Okay? And he is actually much more accurate to what I'm talking about today. But you'll see, I'll make it so you can bridge it over very easily and go back to the original Peter Pan if you don't already know about the original Peter Pan. So, couple of tidbits about Peter Pan. Okay, we're going to start at the show at the beginning, 0. First appeared in J.M. Barrie's book, The Little White Bird. In 1902, Peter Pan's live play debut on December 27th, 1904. Interesting year. That was the year of the new aeon of Horus, the Age of Aquarius. It started there in April 1904. A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, Age of Aquarius, a little bit misleading. Aeon of Horus, very exact. 1904 is when that new age kicked in April. Anyway, Peter Pan in Kensington. Some people may have read that. Published in 1906. You might be able to get a version online. Very expensive book to buy, obviously. Introduced Wendy, one of my favorite names. People still use that name, Wendy, too. I love it. So Peter Pan was also known as the boy who wouldn't grow up. And you'll see for various reasons. So who is Peter Pan? Well, he is, just as the name suggests. Take out the Peter, you got Pan. The Greek god Pan. That's who he is. He is Pan, but he is a specific Pan. He is Pan in his youth, before he's all grown up and older. So we're going to be talking mostly about Peter Pan in his youth. So Peter Pan is Pan. So, and who is Pan, the Greek god? Well, I got him right here. Because he also happens to be my favorite god. Today's the 13th, isn't it? How ironic. I didn't plan this, by the way, but today is the 13th, March 13th. So I'm starting this series on the 13th. How wonderful. This is Pan, all grown up. He's the Greek god Pan. We can't get too heavy involved into Pan because we could spend a month on this guy. He is so complex. He's the highest god of the time. He's like the big guy, right? He's got 7 pipes, not 6, not 8. He must have 7. And the reason for that is that he has power over the 7 powers. The 7 planets you can see with the human eye. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, okay, are the 7 planets you can see with the human eye. You cannot see Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto. So he can call upon any of these powers at any given time, giving him full power. Right? So he's not just a god of vegetation and many other things. He's a mischievous. Oh, yes, he is. He's many things. He's everything. He represents everything. That's why he's the number 0. The 0 is infinite, right? The circle. That's going to play a big role too. That's why Peter Pan never goes old when he's in the 0. Neverland or Neverland, however you want to call it. Okay? So this is him all grown up. And for those who are familiar with the sign Capricorn, this is who he is. When he's all grown up, he is Capricorn. We're going to come back to that at the end, okay? I'll do a little brief thing on him all grown up, but we want to concentrate on Peter Pan, who Peter Pan is, before he's all grown up, okay? But that is Peter Pan I just showed you, all grown up. Okay, Peter Pan, as in the movie Peter Pan, the cartoon, fantastic. I prefer the cartoon. I just love cartoons over the movies. So there he is, Peter Pan. So who is Peter Pan? Well, Peter Pan represents, in his youth, is springtime. The spring fool. April Fools. That's who he is. He is the green man of spring, which goes way back into pagan times. Ancient times. The green man. Very ancient. Thousands and thousands of years ago. Okay? So he represents spring, which is why Peter Pan is always dressed in green, the color of spring. And here, Peter Pan was adapted, you can pretty obviously, from the tarot deck called the Fool, which is the number 0, the very first, and which is why I chose for today, the number 0. Because the number 0 is the Fool, and the Fool is Peter Pan, and Peter Pan is the Fool. Here he is here. There's different representations of the Fool. You will see him as all kinds of things. In just a moment, we'll get to that. So here he is as the Fool. And one of the primary qualities, of course, you're going to guess, is innocence, folly, youthfulness, the essence of springtime. That's what they're trying to get through to you. It's the essence of spring. Spring fever, how you feel at springtime. Everything flourishing and just, like that. That's the kind of energy you want to get. That's the kind of energy for Peter Pan. Spring in his youth. Okay, that's why he's dressed in green. And always should have lots of green. So if you have a tarot deck, look at your Fool card. Is he got lots of green? No? Get another deck. That's so important. It's the essence of him. There's so many decks out there. But shouldn't be there. So, we're talking about spring. Now, you'll notice Peter Pan plays the panpipe. Just as when I showed you Pan there, he was playing the pipe with the 7 planets. Peter Pan, of course, has the panpipe as well. And because he's Pan. So there he is. He's the April Fool. But who else is? So he represents innocence and folly, all those things like young children, falling, breaking things all the time, getting into mischief, right? Because he's that energy. You know, so you got to watch your kid all the time, or you're just climbing up something and get down, you know. So that's what he represents. So the word silly it can be representing the fool or Pan, means empty, vacuum, or air, or zero. Air is important for those who know the occult virtues because the Fool card is of the element air. Fire, water, air, and earth. He is of the element air. So also acting the fool, you'll recognize that. Foolishness. I delve a lot in foolishness. Comes natural because I'm naturally foolish. The word fool comes from folus, meaning windbag. So that brings us back to the element air. Very important. Peter Pan is also, of course, he's the April Fool. So he's the harlequin. He's the jester, right? And often in the tarot, you'll see him as the harlequin or jester. April Fool, symbolic of a harlequin, jester, right? Also in history, you'll see him popping up all over the place. He's the man of Motley. He's Harpocrates. He's Parsifal. You know, all of these are aspects of the Fool. The coat of many colors, as in more modern religions, you'll see him popping up as the coat of many colors worn by Joseph and Jesus in that myth, in those myths. That's aspects of the jester harlequin aspects of, unless you be a little like little children, I think was mentioned in the Bible, the Christian. It's a very modern religion, so I'm not that big on it, but I know about it. Well, who doesn't? But yeah, so those are aspects of the Fool coming out in the Bible there, unless you be of children, you know, the coat of many colors and all that sort of stuff. That's what it represents, the Fool, and that energy we're talking about, and in even deeper energy, even deeper meaning. But we can't get too deep because you can spend a year just on Pan, like I said. So, 0, the circle, eternal youth, Neverland. 0 is the source of all things, the beginning, the Fool, Pan in his youth. Okay? So, and some people will notice the Hebrew letter at the bottom of the card. They got a tarot deck. The 22 letters of the original Hebrew alphabet, the story of creation, goes from Aleph, the first letter Aleph, all the way down to Ta. So the Fool, Peter Pan, is Aleph, the very first letter of the original Hebrew alphabet, if you want to dig into the meaning of that. Peter Pan's shadow, I'm leaving that for you. I want to leave at least one secret thing, occult thing, going on where you can delve into, uncover the mysteries. And I'll leave the shadow to you. Remember how Peter Pan had to go back to Wendy's place because his shadow left him? Stopped doing what he was doing. So he had to go back and Wendy, I believe she sewed it back on. Okay? Cheers. This is my second take on this, so I've already gone through my first take. My coffee went cold. As above, so below. So, yeah. I'm leaving the shadow to you. There are other mythological creatures in Peter Pan that we won't get into because they don't play a big role in the cartoon or in what I'm talking about today, and that's the mermaids, mythological creatures. They belong to a totally different Kabbalistic path for those who are familiar with the mystical Kabbalah, so we won't go down that road. Thrown in there, I don't think there's big significance, okay? So that's who Peter Pan is. Now you know. He is the Fool. He is the sun in springtime. Okay? That is, if you want to go right to the very source, this is a solar phallic thing we're talking about. He is the sun in Aries. Spring. That's who the Fool is. The sun in Aries. That's the energy it's trying to get through to you. Okay. Innocence, folly. Whew, beautiful. One of my favorite times of year. Well, a lot of people like fall because of the everything, the weather and the looks and everything's changing colors and dying and whatever, and the colors of death. I like spring. Just there's something about it. But okay, so who is the enemy of Peter Pan? Captain Hook. Captain Hook, the bitter dude that he is, out to kill him, out to kill the Lost Boys. Oh yes. Captain Hook is an element. The movie, as you're going to find, it has a large basis in the element we're about to talk about. And the energy we're about to talk about is Saturn, the planet Saturn in astrology. The planet Saturn, or in nature, rules winter. It's cold, harsh, bitter, rules death and time. Keep these things in mind because this is the essence of Peter Pan itself and the movie. What it's talking about, the deeper meaning of the movie is concerned with death. So, Captain Hook is a mortal man. He's older, he's bitter, right? Death is stalking him. He's got death on the mind. Notice his hand has a hook. He's Captain Hook. Many people might jump to that Hebrew letter called Zadi because it means fish hook, but that was misleading. What it's actually kind of symbolically representing, I think, I'm not perfect here, okay? But I think it's representing the scythe because we're talking about the god Saturn who carries the scythe, death, right? Okay, so he's got the scythe on him. He's kind of reminding you that I am Saturn. I'm an aspect of Saturn. Okay, the mortal man, the dying man, who's lacking the spirit of spring, who's lacking Peter Pan. We'll get a little deeper into that too. So, we know that Peter Pan is the harlequin, the jester, the fool. That's where he came from. That's where his design even came from. The green man of spring, the April Fool. Okay, so that's where he comes from. That's who he is. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, in the original cartoon, he's not so wonderful. He's more sociopathic, if anything. But we won't go too far into that because that can be a little bit misleading in what we're trying to do right now. So the enemy of Peter Pan, he's bitter, he's jealous, he's going after Peter Pan. He wants to kill him. He's a nasty boy, right? Captain Hook is filled with fear. He represents the fear of death, okay? In this movie, in this play, in this book. He is fear and also the fear of death, okay? He's always running from death. So we might as well introduce now. Oh, first, who is the god Saturn? Saturn is, he rules Capricorn. He's the ruling planet for Capricorn, winter, which deals with death itself. Everything is dying here in the north. We got winter. I'm actually watching it snow right now here on the 13th of March. Appropriate number to start a series with, eh? But so it represents death. So even in the north, when the sun is in the most southern hemisphere, we experience death here as opposed to everything dying, all the vegetation and everything. And in the southern hemisphere, they're also experiencing a lot of death in terms of heat plagues. So it's got a whole history of very harsh elements to Saturn, okay? And Saturn is the sun in the south, in a sense, okay? It's a little bit more complicated, but we can't get too involved. But go with me here. Okay, so the fear of death. So we're going to introduce now, the god Saturn. As many of you who know the mythology behind Saturn, he's a god that had a curse put on him, that one of his children would grow up to commit patricide and kill him. So he started killing all of his children as they were born, so they couldn't kill him when they grew up. So he's known as the all-devourer in that sense of death. So there's a lot of death there. And the all-devourer, devouring all his children and whatnot. What this is trying to put forth is the energy of the color black. I'm going to use this color because it's easiest to explain the energy. The color black absorbs all light, all the spectrum. It absorbs everything. It is the color of death. It is the color of Saturn. Okay? Very important. So, he is the all-devourer, Saturn. Okay? That's very important. So, he's not alone. Okay? He's being tracked by death itself. The fear of death, Captain Hook, is being tracked by a crocodile. And who's the crocodile? It is none other than the Egyptian god of Saturn, Sebek, or Sobek, or Mako, whichever you prefer. Or is it Maki? But anyway, I go usually by Sebek. I just prefer that word. Sebek, the crocodile god, who is Saturn, the all-devouring crocodile. All-devouring. Again, that black light. So Saturn as a god is the god of time. Saturn is the god of time, which is very important in this movie. You'll notice that the crocodile, Sebek, Saturn, swallows the clock so that whenever Captain Hook hears the tick-tock, tick-tock, he just takes off running. The fear of death. He's trying to outrun death. trick Death. Death is stalking him at all times. The crocodile is always stalking him, wanting to kill him. He's going to kill him in the end. So he represents the very real fear of death in the world we live in, the real world. Because we have these mortal bodies that are getting older every day. People are getting facelifts, trying to look young, keep their youth. That is what it's talking about, that fear of death and trying to stay youthful and stuff like that. And you're constantly getting older. The crocodile is wearing you down and will one day take you under the water and take you out. It's inevitable. And it's very sad and you can't escape it. So Peter Pan represents that hope and that spark within you that you don't want to lose. You lose it, you become Captain Hook. Become old, bitter, so and such and such. So that is the crocodile, the god of time, always tracking down Captain Hook. Captain Hook always running, right, from death. And that's who the crocodile is Sebek, right? The Saturnian god of the Egyptians is the crocodile. So there you go, the fear of death, the mortality of man. This is what it's playing out. This whole movie is based on the fear of death and coming to terms with death. But there's that which remains. And that's where we come into Tinkerbell. This may be wrong to say, but I've always found her to be very sexy. I didn't think I'd ever find a cartoon sexy, but Tinkerbell is just so sexy. I'm sorry, man. She's only this big, too, and yet I find her sexy. It's incredible. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I've seen the real Tinkerbell, the lady who modeled for it, It's great stuff. But yeah, there's the sexy Tinkerbell. Who is Tinkerbell? Okay, she is the holy guardian angel. Many people, in modern times, of course, it's like that classroom that whispers into one kid's ear, goes around, comes out like something else. Over time, everything seems to get convoluted. The real holy guardian angel is within you. Every person has a holy guardian angel within them. It is the spark and essence that never changes, no matter what you go through, no matter how much you change, whatever you go through in life, there is that which remains untouched, unmoved, and eternal. The spark within you, the divine spark, you might say. That is your holy guardian angel. And in many organizations of magic, one of the rituals, the big ritual, is what's called obtaining. The purpose is the obtaining of the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. So many people you'll hear, I think my grandma is my holy guardian angel. I think I have a holy guardian angel looking over me. That's something totally different. The real holy guardian angel is within you. It is the divine spark within you. Okay? And getting in touch with that and rejoining with that and staying connected so it keeps you on your path and you don't turn into Captain Hook. Okay? And lose the essence of life. I think even more modern religions use that. Like Christianity is a very modern religion. I think they have, unless you be as little children, you can in no wise into the kingdom of heaven, something like that. So that's where they got that from. It's that spark and that essence. But I usually go to the source. I prefer more ancient times, not the more modern stuff, because you get to the source, you get the pure form, not the distorted forms. So here we have it. We have Peter Pan, the Spring Fool. We have the crocodile and Captain Hook as symbolic of Saturn, death, the fear of death, the mortal man, and the material world we live in. That's what it's talking about. And in particular, winter, if you want to be exact. But it's also talking about spring for Peter Pan, winter for Captain Hook. Okay? So, we've done that. How are we doing? We've only got a couple more minutes. I'm only trying to keep this to half an hour, so I'm trying to get as much wisdom as I can in here. You yourself can go and delve into these God names and stuff and find out and watch that movie over. You'll discover more stuff yourself. It goes very deep. Okay? So, and that is who Tinkerbell is. That's why she's not in love with Peter Pan. She looks after him. She protects him. His holy guardian angel. Ta-da! That's who she is. She is part of Peter Pan, externalized for us to see. Magical in the sense that she's, she's got the pixie dust. She's a pixie. And that's another mythical creature other than the mermaids. We got the pixies, okay, that they've introduced as Tinkerbell. Okay, but Tinkerbell is playing the holy guardian angel. So there you have it. I think that's just about it. You've got enough in there. So, okay, so that's who Peter Pan is. Okay, as long as he's in Never Never Land, he kind of lives forever. He's got that divine spark. You don't want to lose that. Okay, your soul, in a sense, your spirit, your spiritual essence. okay, is not being affected by the world around you and keeping that essence going and being connected to it. Here is Peter Pan. Some people will like this, some people will not. Too bad. Here is Peter Pan all grown up. He is a 2 number 15. A 2 meaning number. He's the number 15, Capricorn. Hence the goat, the goose. Okay? So he represents winter. Capricorn is the sign of winter, obviously, for those who are Capricornian, born in December, January. It's talking about winter. So what better animal to have to represent winter is the mountain goat, the most sure-footed animal in the winter. Perfect to symbolize winter, in the energy of winter. Okay, many people think of them as go to Satan as the Christian. No. This has nothing to do with Christianity. Sorry, thousands of years younger. Okay, this is why. And he's not evil. This is just the goat to symbolize winter. He's sure-footed in how you should be cautious and sure-footed. In ancient times, there was no heat. You were just out there hunting, trying to survive in the middle of winter. Many deaths, many dangers of slipping, going through the ice, avalanches, all kinds of dangers in the winter. Just death everywhere, okay? In nature, vegetation is dying here it's all death. So here he is, God of so many things. We can't really get into it, but there's the vegetation. You can see grapes and stuff. He's got the horns. Okay, so that's Peter Pan all grown up. He's got a bit of a beer belly now. But yeah, that's Peter Pan. Wonderful, wonderful. My favorite god right here, Pan. That's him all grown up. Now you can see some pictures of him right there. A friend of mine did this for me back in the 1980s. Wonderful painter. I miss her, Linda. But anyway, so that's about it. And that is who Peter Pan is. I got 3 minutes. I'll give you a quick tidbit, okay, on the concept of Satan. Now, Satan is totally distorted in today's minds, man, because of modern religions. They've just distorted it. The original Satan, Set Sebek, this is purely, the energy is a winter. It's the sun in the south, okay? Okay, so in other religions, they bring out Satan, but like in Christianity, for instance, they took 2 different deities from ancient times and made a new one for themselves. But he was composed of 2 different deities, which convolutes it. I like to go back to the source. So who did they do? They did Saturn, who we've been talking about. Saturn, Set Sebek, god of death and time, etc. The mortal man, the material world that we live in. Okay, and so they took him, evil, cruel, death, bitter, jealous, nasty. And then they blended him with another god entirely named Neptune, the god of the oceans. God of the ocean has 2 aspects, good and bad, like negative, positive. On the positive, when you go to the water, people who love the water like I do, the ocean, and you have imagine the ocean like glass, just totally still. You see your reflection. It's romantic, it's dreamy, it's poetic, it's alluring, and just totally, romantic and all that sort of stuff that you can think of in the ocean. Many people go there for healing and stuff. Then there's the other god, the god of Neptune, is very moody. So 1 minute it is calm and placid and romantic, and the next minute a tsunami rises up and destroys you and your entire town in an instant. That is Neptune. Okay, tidal waves. So he's got these 2 different aspects, and what they're doing is they're describing the ocean, not a deity running around hurting people or doing anything. It's the ocean. It's the energy in that water element. Water, fire, water, air, and earth. So you have the 2. You have the calm, placid one, and then you have the water, okay, very moody. Moody is watery, right? Your emotions. That's what it's talking about. Your emotions is water, the element water. Okay, so they've taken the 2 of them and blended it together. Often you'll see they've blended the goat parts of Capricorn, right? They've often given him like this huge phallus so he can barely walk without falling forward. It's just ridiculous. But so they've given him goat parts and stuff like this, and then they have him holding, sometimes he's holding they stole Neptune's triad and put it in his hand. So he's holding Neptune's fishing spear, and sometimes he has a tail with a fishing spearhead on the end for Neptune. So you can see they've taken 2 separate, totally different energies, put them as one, created this creature, that doesn't exist, by the way, man-made. I prefer to go back to the source. Let's separate these two. One is Neptune, one is Saturn. They are nothing alike. So that's just a story that I don't really delve much into because it is so convoluted and distorted. And that's why they wanted their Satan to be alluring and deceptive and lying. And these are all negative traits of Neptune. Deceptive. Oh, look at the water. It's so nice. Whoa, tsunami. That's what they're talking about. You know, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. November winds. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. And we will get deeper into more esoteric subjects as we go along. I take suggestions in the comments. Please don't attack me. I work hard. I'm not into arguing or anything like that. But if you have suggestions, you want to do ghost stories, we can talk. Anything like that, any subjects you want to cover. I've probably got my nose into it over these last 45 years and worked hard at it. And that's Peter Pan. So yeah, check out Peter Pan. You can go deeper into it yourself. You've got some god names to work with and some forces of nature, because that's what they are. And that's about it. And I hope you enjoyed this first episode in the Lair. And there'll be many more to come. Hopefully Steve will join me next week. We'll do that rock show. Hopefully I'll hear from this individual from the West Coast. I'm looking forward to doing a show with her if she'll do one with me. Okay, take care. Peace out.